Welcome everybody, and thank you.
Barely on.
Talk louder. All right, I'm going to talk louder. Welcome. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. This is exciting to see so many people here. I want to this is put on this forum by the Tea Party Patriots, and we greatly appreciate you being here. I really want to thank the Ranger College for hosting us. They have been very, very gracious, and we're so thankful that they allowed us to have this. We're going to begin with prayer, followed by the pledge to the American flag, and then to the Texas flag. So Keith Garrison's going to lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this night. I thank you for the opportunity for us all to get together to talk about the future of our city. Lord, I just ask that you will guide this meeting with your integrity, your patience, and your grace. And I lift up our city and our residents, both young and old, Lord. And I just ask that you will bless this city. And Lord, I just pray that you will guide and bless the future leadership of this city too. And just bless Ranger with rejuvenation and revigoration. I just thank you, Lord, for everything you do for us and for your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And Charlie Anderson's going to lead us in the pledges, first to the American flag.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the Texas flag.
Honor the
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. First, a few housekeeping items. The restrooms, if you go out the back doors and to the right and around the corner, that's where the restrooms are. There's some snacks in the back and some water, and you feel free to get up and get them anytime you need. Respectfully, I'm going to ask you to please silence your cell phones. And while the candidates are speaking, if you'll just have very, very low talking or no talking at all, that'd be great. Due to the time that the library's given us, there's going to be no questions from the audience tonight. There will be a short meet and greet at the end of the questioning. There'll be a time for a meet and greet. So thank you. So the way we're going to work it is, we're going to start with the city council. Each candidate has drawn a number for their position to speak, and we'll rotate that. And so Keith Garrison's going to be the timer. And so we're going to give each person for the introduction 3 minutes, and they're going to come up. They know this. They've been preparing. And so when they have 30 seconds left, Keith will hold up a sign to warn them they have 30 seconds. And when it gets to the end of the time, he'll show the stop sign, time is up, and then he'll ring a bell. To respect the college, there's going to be no rebuttals tonight. Each candidate, I'm trying really hard to make sure they have the exact same amount of time to speak. So first I'm going to introduce you to the candidates that you're going to be hearing from tonight. For City Council, we have Charlie Archer, place 2, Samantha McGinnis, place 2, Jared Calvert, place 4, and Kevin Moyes, place 4. And then we have 3 people on the water board, Steve Gerdes, Dan McGinnis, and then Charles Calvert couldn't be here, but we're going to have a statement read for him. So to begin, and I just want to personally thank all the candidates for being here tonight. This is a big deal, and we're so glad you could come and be with us. So to begin, the City Council candidates are going to have 3 minutes to briefly introduce themselves and to tell just why you are a candidate and what you want to accomplish with your service. And so we're going to start over here. I guess I'll go first. So Samantha's going to go first.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're all here. We all love Ranger. That's why we're here. You can't hear. Okay. Can somebody figure out how to turn it up higher? Maybe? Close? Oh, yeah. That's scary. Okay. So thank you for coming. Thank you for loving Ranger like we all do up here. I know every single one of us do. I was born and raised in California. I know that doesn't set well with some people, but I was a bit of a gypsy. We ran all around California. I got married, not to Danny, but to someone else, and I was married for 15 years. When we moved to Seattle, he was a Navy guy, and we lived in Australia for 5 years, and that was wonderful. Came back to California. My son, who I have 2 sons and 5 grandkids, and we love Jesus, and it's really hard to love Jesus in California. So, and we like guns too. Sorry, you guys. But we do. So my son was driving for Tuff Cooper. He's a world champion calf tire. And he lived in Weatherford at the time, and my son was here, and he's like, you guys need to move to Texas. They love Jesus, they love guns, and you'll fit in really good here. So we started on that trek, and we looked at a huge swath of Texas, from all the way to Nacogdoches to, where else was it? I don't know. Abilene, beyond, anywhere that the rain was good and things would grow, because we like growing things. And not marijuana. Please know that. We don't smoke it, grow it, nothing it, okay? Not part of our lives. So just wanted to clear that up too. So a lot of different things came up, and Ranger had a really neat, we loved Joe Pilgrim and met him, and he found us the Adams grocery store. So we have the Adams grocery store, and we need to get that fixed up. We want to put cowboy toffee in there. We want to put all kinds of cool things in there from the farm. Mom and Dad bought the Young School over on, that's where we have our farmer's market and our little garden that we're going to make a big garden one day. And, you know, we're here. We got involved with the Historical Society, the task force, and I'm part of the Historical Commission. We love Ranger. We love its history. We love its people. We love to see things grow and flourish and bear fruit, and that's what we want for Ranger. So if I win on city council or if I don't, I'm always going to love and fight for Ranger. It's my home forever on this planet. And thank you, sir, for 30 seconds. And that went quick. So I'm going to just say thank you for everything. I want to run for council because I love this city. And if that is a good thing, good. If it's not, I don't know. Thank you all.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Charlie Archer. Excuse me, I'm getting over long COVID, get a little out of breath. I'm born and raised here. Worked out of town for many years, but it was time to come home, so I came back home. I run the local grocery store down here. I see a lot of you in there, and I appreciate your business. And I just want to make one thing perfectly clear, that I do not represent, my politics do not represent my company or my owners. I am here for myself only. As I said, I was born and raised here. I raised all 4 of my kids here. I graduated from Ranger High School here, as well as my kids. And the reason I'm running for council is because I remember this town when it was thriving. We had a much larger population. It's something I want to see again. I have a vested interest, being that I am back running the grocery store. I told the owners that I wanted to grow the business, and the only way that I can grow the business is if the town itself grows around me. So I'm not running off of what somebody else may or may not have done. I have a very clear vision of what I want to see for this town and all of its people. I want to dispel all of the negativity that we constantly battle here in town. We need to work together, because if we all work separately, we won't accomplish anything. But if we all work together, then I guarantee you we can finally get the end result that all of us want. I don't really have anything else other than that, but I do appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I'll appreciate everybody's support. If I win, I promise that I'm always going to be honest and transparent, and you'll know what you get when you get me. Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you. I prepared notes, but I'm probably going to go out of order even on my notes, because I think I'm going to run over 3 minutes. I want to thank Lori and the Tea Party Patriots for hosting tonight. I want to thank the library and the college for also giving us this time. And I want to thank each of you for showing up and supporting the city and being interested in what's happening and what we can do and how we can be a better city. I'll give you a bio about me shortly, but I want to give you first some of the things regarding Ranger that I'd like to see. As council, we are to be good stewards of the citizens' taxes and assets. By charter, we are primarily responsible to oversee safety through police and fire service and to provide roads, water, and sewer. There are many other items we are to oversee, but it is very obvious that these primary elements are struggling and require so much of our resources. I have hope of our continued development. I want our town to improve and be a place that we are all proud to be a part of. I want to see more of our ordinances enforced, fire hazards removed, roads improved, continued water and sewer improvements, and system corrections. I want to see the city cleaned up. I desire the preservation of our brick streets and downtown and the loop to be more presentable. I want animal control to be more rigorously enforced. Without economic development, many other services will be difficult to improve, much less sustain. I want to see the economic development corporations utilize our taxes to actually bring economic development and employ a professionally trained executive director to assist in their mission. I want to increase our tax base, not our tax rate. I want to have over $1 million returned to the city by vendors that have overbilled. I want to continue to support the city administration that has acquired and administered grants for valves, hydrants, a new ambulance, a utility truck, trailer, a new mini excavator, disposal of tires, free dump days, including this weekend, bulk trash pickup, and the ARPA funds. They've accomplished much of this with reduced staff. I will continue to defend the city in whatever role possible. I want to prevent another fire from sweeping through our town as it did in March of 22. I want to see Ranger return to the memories of many here and to the dreams we all currently have of our town. I have a website that will provide many of my views and opinions and the documents that I base them upon. It is ConcerningRanger.com. My bio will be on there probably late tonight or tomorrow. It also has my email address, so please write and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. I also publish videos addressing mostly two of the biggest issues that affect our city currently, and that channel, YouTube channel, is Concerning Ranger. And I'm going to keep going until I run out of time, which is short. I was born and raised in Lubbock, Texas. I graduated from Texas Tech with a Bachelor of Architecture and a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I moved to Arlington and raised my children, where I received my Master's of Engineering and Structures from the University of Texas, Arlington. I'm a registered architect and a registered professional engineer. The last 17 years of my career was with Austin Commercial of Dallas. I was a general contractor and construction manager. My specialties were international airports and related infrastructure. I moved to California in 2006 to set up and establish our offices there. Thank you so much.
Mr. Russell, how do you hear me?
I hear you good.
Loud and clear. I'm not going to use the microphone. My name is Jared Calvert. Was born in Stephenville, came to Ranger 3 days later. Born and raised here. I've lived in Mexico, lived in Pennsylvania. 2012, after graduating high school, I flew to 48. After graduating college, flew to 48 states in an aircraft. Got to meet a lot of amazing people, a future U.S. Senator. Right now, I fly around the country. Last year alone, I went to 29 states, but if you count every state as a new state, it was over 140. I see success everywhere I fly because typically I fly vintage antique aircraft for successful people. Ranger depresses me. It's depressed me for years. Nobody in here should be shocked when I say Ranger has a terrible reputation. Two people sitting here running for council were on the council for 3 years almost and 2 years almost. We need to change direction. There is a cancer that is spreading through Ranger, and frankly, I don't want to be here. I want to do other things, but my town needs me. My airfield needs me, and these kids need me. I went and sourced an aircraft for our kids program that Scott Purdue, one of our builders, was going to build here, and he was going to teach our high school kids to fly. And that guy is built somewhere else now, paying taxes to the Canton School District because of the behavior of our city council. So I'm going to read a small paragraph of one of the main reasons why I'm running, and I'm going to speak of this cancer. This is a public document. This was served by the sheriff to two Ranger citizens previous weekend ago. Chapter 12. Regrettably, plaintiff Jared Calvert has discovered he was and is the subject of a shocking set of lies being spread by defendants McGinnis and Sigler.
In or about October 2023, defendants McGinnis and Sigler communicated to others in the community that Mr. Calvert is smuggling dope and doing child trafficking through the airfield. Defendant stated that Mr. Calvert is literally, quote, pulling kids in vans and flying them out at night, and that this, quote, drug smuggling and sex trafficking of kids and women is being carried out by Mr. Calvert by flying them out of the airfield to the south at night to not be detected. Some of these statements were made in the presence of third parties at a local farmers market in Ranger on private property. Again, that's a public document. I grew up here. I'm trying to help our children. I remember in grade school looking at the depressing buildings with nothing in them, trash in people's yards. And of the two people running for my position, only one of us has raised over $1.2 million for a Ranger nonprofit. I'm not paid. Only one of us hosts the largest event in Ranger, and I do it as a volunteer. Ranger needs help. I'm here to do that.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate that. Over the last few weeks, we've met with small business owners in Ranger, in addition to several long-term residents, to find out their primary concerns and issues regarding the future of Ranger. Now, I'd like to give each of you the opportunity to respond to specific questions based on these conversations. So I'm going to ask a question. For these, you'll each have 2 minutes. We're going to start with Charlie this time, then Kevin, then Jared, then Sam. The first question of interest was, tell us about your vision for the future of Ranger. In your opinion, what is the greatest challenge the city faces today? And if elected, how would you move forward? What steps would you take to meet this challenge? So Charlie, you can go first. And if you take less than 2.
That's a very interesting question. The main thing is what we face on a daily basis is we have a limited tax base, and that all ties back into going back into growing the town. We have to increase that tax base, and as Mr. Boyes made the comment, we don't want to increase the tax rate, we want to increase the tax base. It's a very good point. And that's one of the main platforms I have is the growth of the town. It is a challenge. I spoke about it when I opened, about some of the negativity that has surrounded us. And working together, we can achieve what we want to achieve. We have to make some very large steps with working as a council and as the economic board working together so that we can work to attract more small businesses, more large businesses. We're sitting in a prime location out here between Abilene and Fort Worth, so we have to, I hate to use the word exploit, but we have to exploit where we are because it's prime for development with factories and various manufacturing companies that are looking to relocate. There's people looking to relocate every day. I read it constantly. I do a lot of research, and being in business, I have to continue to do research. So I know that there's a lot of people wanting to relocate, and if we do it right and we dispel the negativity that's coming in, people won't be looking in and seeing the problems that we have. Let's just work together and make it a place everybody wants to come. Thank you.
I'll pick up the mic this time. I don't know if that's any better. It's a loaded question. We have many challenges in front of us and have been here for quite some time, probably the last 2 or 3 decades, and that is everything from roads to sewers to water lines, aging infrastructure across the board, the sewers, even animal control. All of these are big issues, but all of that, as Charlie mentioned, all of it starts with money and having a budget to be able to do that. As that diminishes, our ability to maintain or even sustain that recovery in any one of those areas is limited and becomes more so without some type of economic development, increased tax base. So that's where I'd like to see. I'd like to see the EDCs focus on getting someone to help us, getting that doctor to help us really find those solutions EDC-wise, but then also protecting that little base that we have right now, try to grow that and get as much back into our in our revenues to be able to. Right now, it's difficult to even go for grants because we have a difficult time sustaining or matching those grants, and particularly right now when one of our largest tax revenues, Loves, is closed as they remodel. I'm glad that they're going to remodel and come back bigger and stronger, but in the interim, we are short a lot of revenue because of that. So we're struggling with that, and this year we will struggle because of that. Hopefully we can recover some of that by the end of the year. But being able to get more tax base to address all those issues is probably one of the primary things that has to happen. You can't go to the store. You can dream about all the things you want to buy, but without the money to buy it, you're not buying anything. Thank you.
In my opinion, the number one problem with Ranger is it needs to be cleaned up. It's a mental health issue for our kids. It does not promote growth. Ranger must be cleaned up. But to clean up, you have to have funds. So despite the anonymous letters and the anonymous videos that are now obviously not anonymous anymore, every one of those hangars that was going to be built at the airfield were going to be tax-paying hangars. And at the average cost of those hangars, you're looking at about $1,000 a month in taxes that these people are going to pay to live in their own hangar. And our plans were to have 20. Now that's a small step in increasing the tax base, but every dollar that comes into the tax base helps. And one of the big positives for the hangars is what I was telling these people are these are high net worth individuals that want to move to Ranger to be on our historic airfield. And what I said is if we build 20 hangars and the average net worth is $5 million a person, which frankly the first three builders had an average net worth of more than that, that's $100 million that we've imported in net worth of individuals. And that just doesn't stay out at the airfield. For instance, one of our builders, still wanting to build, said he will donate every gallon of diesel needed to clean up Ranger. Not limited, every gallon of diesel needed to clean up Ranger, he said he will donate. The gentleman that's helping pay for our attorney's fees, when I said, if we get your money back, what do you want to do with it? He said, I've decided I'm going to give it to the pool. Our kids need a place to swim. And I will introduce the pool people to this gentleman so they know I'm not trying to pull your leg for votes. This spreads. Just like a cancer of negativity can spread, positiveness spreads. But Ranger needs to be cleaned up. I'm going to run out of time, but I do have a plan for that if it gets brought up again. We have to bring people together. College, school board, ministerial alliance, because the council can't do it alone. We get attacked too easily. It has to be a community effort.
Thank you.
I agree with Jared, and I agree with all of us. We all need to clean Ranger, and we all can pick up any piece of rubbish that we see, we can come across. I pick stuff up all the time. We can shovel, we can do all these things. But if we lock arms, when you see little kids go missing in certain towns and areas in the nation, people might not like each other, but everybody gets together and they go hunting for that little kid because life is precious and it's sacred. And that's what we feel about Ranger. Ranger is precious. It's sacred. She's a humongous pile of potential. And I think that we all can see that. We all want that. And if we all can unify and fix it together and not us against them or them against, it doesn't, if we can make her better, she is in an opportunity zone. She is in an enterprise zone. And we can do this if we do it together and stop backbiting and devouring each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question was, many residents consider the college to be a great asset for the community. In your opinion, what can be done to strengthen the partnership with Ranger College? And do you see any initiatives that may be jointly pursued that would benefit the city? And if so, what are they? And so to start with this, Charlie went first, so Kevin.
Can you hear me? The mic just doesn't work for me too much. The college is, for me, is a little bit difficult or a challenging situation. They are their own political entity with their own elections, and they are their own taxing authority. recently last year I found out that being able to use the library here was such a great opportunity and did not know that was available to the public. Everything from coming in and using some of the copy or scanning some things, but even checking out books is available to the public. Things we didn't know. That communication of what is available, probably one of the first things. Citizens are not aware of what is available here at the college, and unfortunately there may not be that much that's available to the college students or to the college from the city. But I think the two sitting down together to find out those resources that each may have, and is there a way to cross-pollinate, to use those resources, would be a great way to do it. So the first thing probably is to sit down together and say, is there things or resources that we're purchasing or expending on separately that we could do or work better together on doing that? Beyond that, I really don't know, because I don't know what all the college has other than facilities such as the baseball and maybe some entertainment with soccer and baseball fields and others that use that. I just recently found out about the cafeteria, and so it's a good place to grab a lunch or something there as well. But beyond that, I'm not aware of what opportunities there may be with the college in doing that. Economic growth, having a college here is probably a little bit of a draw and would help, knowing that there is a college base and opportunity for those who may move here, but also for programs for businesses that could be here would be a great draw. So if we have businesses or EDC who has an idea of something and that begins to work out, then that may be something to coordinate with the college to see if there are classes or those to do training, because that is certainly an element in the EDC market to do job training for those elements as well. Thank you.
I can tag on to the last thing I talked about with having a plan for Ranger that involves the college. And the number one problem is Ranger needs to be cleaned up. The students that come here, they don't want to come to Ranger. They have to. Ranger looks bad. You look at the house that just burned across from the baseball dorms. So cleaning up Ranger would help increase the student base, but you also have an untapped potential there with those kids. Piggybacking on my plan, what I was trying to get at is the council can't clean up Ranger alone. The minute we get a council, say with one strong person or three strong people, and they start enforcing codes, and we start picking and choosing around town because we have limited resources, that's the minute the rest of the town can pile on the council. It's happened every time. Some people pile on the council loses their fire. So we need to divide Ranger, for instance, into 8 sections. We clean up one section at a time, and we make it a community effort. We get a high school board member on the non-binding voting board. We get a board of regent. We get a task force official. We get a ministerial official. The largest church in town, Jared Johnson maybe, I haven't spoken to him yet, we get him on it. That way, when we start cleaning up town and people start piling on the council, they're not just piling on the council, they're piling on a group community effort. And the council can weather that, because it's the council that has the teeth. It has to be the council that enforces this. And it's going to start to snowball. It's just like I was able to take an overgrown airfield and raise $1.2 million in 3 years from over 10,000 donors. It starts to snowball. And I would like to add the last thing is I would like to see one house a month picked out by a college group of kids that gets painted to a poor person in town. And maybe the task force has to come in and clean up the yard. Maybe another group needs to come in and scrape off the painted chips. But I would like to see an underprivileged person get their house painted once a month. A little spot in the neighborhood can have a big impact over time.
In the different cities that I've lived in, the community colleges usually send out a syllabus that, lets you know what classes can be taken, and the citizens can usually take those classes. And I think that would kind of be a neat thing, especially if there's folks moving here and they want to learn how to do something. Or I know that this is a sports college and they're not going to let me go play soccer because I'm short and not fast. But I think it would be neat to connect the dots with the college. And if there are some math classes or English classes that can be taken as citizens, I think it would be fun. Biology, chemistry, stuff like that. I think that would be really neat. But I do agree with you, Jared. And I think there's a lot of people that need more than paint. I think they need roofs. I think they need water. And I think that's very important for us as council to focus on how we can help those people finding the grants, finding the community to help put things together for them. Thank you.
We'll try to do it without the mic this time. My voice is kind of getting there finally. It is an interesting question, and as Kevin said, there are their own entities, so it's kind of tricky ground there to figure out ways to work better together. But one of the things that I have always been a fan of since social media became a thing, the city ought to be promoting the college, vice versa. The college should be promoting the town. Those two together would actually create more of a spotlight on what we actually have to offer. But as everybody else has touched on the fact that we have so much cleaning that has to be done, we really have to clean up our own backyard first and foremost. I was on the council many years ago when John Casey and I had worked diligently to try to get a program to get rid of, we had 65 identified structures that were ready to be torn down and demolished, and we had a plan set up with the Army National Guard to come in and grind those houses up with a tub grinder and leave us with a pile of mulch. And we were attacked. The city council, they came at us from every direction, people telling us that we could not do that, we couldn't get rid of the junk, that they would sue us all as a council, as individuals. So we've really got to come together this time. We've got to come together. And as I said before, we need to spotlight each other, and I think that's going to help us more than anything. So, thank you.
Thank you all very much. Okay, the next question was important to a lot of people. A concern of many in Ranger is the drug problem. If elected, what will be your approach to all the drug-related homelessness and theft issues in Ranger? Oh, I think you do go first.
Thank you. So we have a policing problem in Ranger. I can't confirm this. I haven't spoken to the city about it, but I'd heard that the DA is not accepting cases from Ranger right now because our cameras aren't working. What do you do when you arrest somebody for drunk driving or domestic violence and the DA won't prosecute it because the cameras aren't working? It's not good. So we need better policing. That's the police job. That's it. Council can't go arrest these people. It's just policing. But is the council giving the police the tools that they need to see the job through? Can't really touch on any more than that. It's policing. Nothing more to say.
Can everyone hear me without the microphone? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think it is policing, Jared, and I think it is a lot more police maybe, but I also think, again, it goes back to being clean. Ranger has a really bad reputation, and everybody seems to send everybody over here because they can squat in the houses that are empty. They can hide in the buildings. There's so many different things that happen because it's not clean. So again, it goes right back to housekeeping. So if we can try to figure out how to get things clean, we can try to find, I know there's programs out there for people, and maybe we can get WestCog or something to come and help our city. Because when we first moved here, we would have the gas turned on, and the guy looks at us and he's like, "Why Ranger? All they have are drugs there." How do we change that? We change it together. We help people. We figure out ways to do it. We don't just say, "Oh, let's just fob them off over here and throw them off." They're poor people. They have no hope, and we need to figure out a way together to give them hope.
Well, first I'd like to say we've come a long ways in the last several years. For those of you that weren't here in the early 90s, we had a much larger problem. We had a very large cleanup in one day, and that helped us a lot out here. But we are starting to hit that slippery slope again. And what I can say is, I've been served before on the council. I know that we're kind of limited as the elected officials on what we can and can't do for law enforcement. But what we can do as a council, if elected, is we can work with our police department. We can ensure that they have the proper work and equipment that they need. We can help foster relationships with other law enforcement agencies so that they'll work with us on a more regular basis. Then again, we're all circling back to the same problem. It's the junk problem that we have. And all the abandoned houses where criminal activity can take place. And that falls back to where we had that program years ago, and they were going to tear those houses down based on the fact that they could use those for criminal activity. So if you get rid of that element, if you take that part out of the equation, you're not going to have near the problem that we have now, because they won't have the place to hide and do those things. So again, if we could focus on the cleanup, be a good working council, and foster those relationships with other law enforcement agencies, I think we can finally turn the corner. Thank you.
After a while, it becomes repetitive, but yes, the cleanup is one of the big deals. The council is legislative mostly. So we can write ordinances, we can, as others have said, we can't enforce them. I don't wear a badge, I don't have cuffs, a gun to go out and do that, and that's not what we're here to do. Opportunities that we have are budget. So if we have the revenue to do that, is to increase the budget for those areas that need that, whether it is the removal or tearing down of dilapidated structures or just cutting the grass. A cleaner city just promotes, an opportunity for, I'm trying to be maybe a little bit politically correct, but it reduces the riffraff. So cleaning up is certainly one of them, but I think also, and I think Charlie touched on this, is coordination with the other law enforcement agencies. So whether it be the DA, the Sheriff's Department, Texas Highway Department, Texas Rangers, whomever it may be, to look for ideas and or corrections. If there are things that we need to correct, whether it be cameras or other equipment, then we need to hear about it. We need to address that. The council does in trying to budget that and then set the priorities to do those things. So I think coordinating with other agencies, and then I think the other thing is the public has an opportunity. If you know or are aware of things, or I hate to say suspect, I don't want to solve everything as suspect, but being able to communicate that to the city so that better enforcement is done is also key. So as a community, looking out for that and trying to gauge a portion of that criminal element that may be going on or things that are going downhill to address that. I would state cleanup, once again, is going to be the first part, because if we clean it up, we're going to be able to see a lot more of it anyway. Thank you.
Okay, this is a little bit of a piggyback, but more towards our children. Several parents note the lack of activities and facilities for the city's young folks. Specific topics of concern were: the pool has not been repaired or even addressed for years. Our parks are frequently being vandalized. Applying for Parks and Recreation grant to help improve our facilities is a suggestion. What are your ideas for addressing these concerns, and what can the city do to give our kids a sense of purpose and community? So Samantha, we're going to start with you.
I think that the pool would be amazing, and I know that the pool group is working their tails off, selling things, trying to raise money, trying to get people to come in and look and find, and they're very active in trying to get the pool done. And I think the more of us that can get behind them to try and help them get more funds, the quicker we can get a pool. I think that it's important to have lots of lighting. I think it's important to go back to the policing thing. If every town has a bad spot in town, and usually it's the skate parks or the parks because nobody polices them, and the little kids get sucked into drugs, and there's all kinds of junk that happens. But it goes back to having the police, getting a better budget, getting a better tax base, cleaning things up. It's all connected. So I think that would help. And if we can also figure out a way to find a building that we can maybe get an incubator for kids to learn how to do programming, things that the college and the school can't really afford. But if we can find grants for kids to learn how to make, they all love gaming. So let them learn how to program games, or let them learn how to do woodworking. Let them learn how to go out to horse ranches and figure out how to do that. Help them come out to farms and get a mentorship program for them. So there's so much out there for kids, and there's so many people that have so many skills. People have bakeries. Maybe they want to learn how to be a baker. Maybe they want to learn how to be a mechanic or a welder. There's so many opportunities. And I just think that if we, again, can work together, we can get the kids focused in a good direction. Thank you.
I was lucky growing up here as a youngster. We had, of course, our swimming pool. We also had the Boys Club of America that was ran by Mr. Labredo. He was, if anybody, Justin, you probably remember Mr. Labredo. He was a fine individual. We ended up losing that. We didn't have any more volunteers to help take over the Boys Club. That was a shame. That really kept us all out of trouble. So did the swimming pool. We definitely need to focus on getting the pool back open. There was a lot of talk. It was not accurate about the pool in the beginning, talking about losing 1 million gallons a month. So there's no way we're losing that kind of water. I work with Lynette and anybody else that wants to help raise money for the pool. But what it's going to take in the end is we need volunteers from the town, people that want to volunteer for various programs that are out there for the kids. We could definitely get some after-school activities for them, but it's going to take buy-in from our citizens that want to help Ranger benefit from these programs. The council, they have to be willing to work with all the different entities that want to come in here. I don't think anybody in here would reject anybody that wanted to bring something in for the children. So there again, it's going to fall back on volunteers and citizen input. We need everybody's help on these situations. And that's really all I have on that one. Thank you.
He touched on the volunteers. I agree with that. We have a group, a very good, strong group working on diligently to get the pool going again and get it opened and funding that. And it's slow go, it's a struggle, and much appreciated, and what a great item that will be once it's open again. But I think one of the other activities, one of the things that can be done in the interim for not only for children but for others, whether they be shut-ins or other things, we have a lot of nonprofit organizations, we have a lot of churches, we have college and school and many others. Opportunities for those to come together and offer an evening or activities one night a week or a month, or what it maybe starts out once a month or once a quarter. But those opportunities, we have organizations from the Quarter Store, from the RMA, and multitude of churches that do some activities like that. But providing that to a little bit larger community base would be a great opportunity for volunteers meeting students and others, and have a community that comes together, whether that can be a council item or others, if that is a monthly cookout, short of, and it could be a fundraiser, whether it be a cakewalk or whatever it may be, but being able to have a community get together that can be sponsored by many of the other nonprofit or organizations outside of the city council. Again, hate to harp on it, but without the funding, we're very limited. But there are things to do with those limited funds. We can buy a bunch of hot dogs, and we can clean up a park, set up a grill, buy some charcoal, do some things like that. And I think if we do that with the support of the many other groups, there's an opportunity. Maybe slow go, just like a business. You got to stay with it for a little while before it can grow. But I would recommend something like that.
Aviation changed my life. 2 years ago, last week, I had 65 kids come out on 2 school buses, and I offered a couple kids a pilot's license that they wouldn't have to pay for. I said, write me a note, handwritten, by the end of the week. And I'm going to read to you this letter that I keep in the top of my toolbox now for over 2 years. April 11th, 2022. Dear Jared, my name is, I'm going to omit our name. I am 17 years old. You talked to us earlier today about aviation. It really touched me today when you were talking about Ranger. I related with some of the things you were saying. Said that a lot of people here aren't successful and they are okay with that, but I don't want to be one of those people. You had also mentioned a ladder of steps that you have to go through in life to be successful, and I would be so stupid to miss this step on that ladder. I want to be successful. I don't want to be okay with having less than I strive for like my parents. Not only is this something I want, but this is something I absolutely need. I want to be stable one day, not only financially, but in the career field I work in as well. I don't want to live in the bad parts of Ohio and Texas for the rest of my life. I'm tired of being stuck in dead-end towns, feeling like life is passing me by, feeling like I am just wasting away with the town itself. I'm tired of not feeling like I am enough. I have overcome so many challenges in my life, and I know I can overcome the challenges you or any flight instructor throws at me, and I am determined to do so. She wrote me that letter, and she was one of the 2 children we chose. And she saw the airplane that she was going to learn to fly in sitting in front of the hangar. A year ago, Scott Purdue, who was going to build here and teach her, flew a billionaire in from England. And we walked over to the college cafeteria, and this girl served us in the line. And I didn't tell her who she was looking at because I had chosen her. Scott hadn't. And you two and the rest of the city council owe her an apology.
Thank you. The next question is from small business owners. Several business owners identified the absence of zoning enforcement as a major hurdle in drawing new residents and businesses to the city. Also, the lack of any financial support in the form of a short-term loan or financing was noted to severe limitation on future growth. So Charlie, you're going to go first. Thank you.
This is a topic that is very near and dear to me because I've touched on it a little bit earlier. But far as what we face daily, being that I represent one of the local businesses, the zoning is getting ridiculous. You can drive around the corner from my store and you can obviously see the decay and the issues that we face there. We have to enforce our ordinances. We have to have strong code enforcement. It can't be selective. We can't pick and choose. We have to move forward on this, and we have to move forward united as a council, as a town, and as neighbors. We have to accomplish this feat. Far as input from the EDCs, we're going to have a much better job. We need people being aggressive. We need them going after any and all new business. We need them to be readily available to help the small business at all times, the ones that we do have. We're all facing challenges. We've had an economy that none of us had ever planned for. I've been in retail many years, and I've never seen anything like what we face. It's a roller coaster. It just hurts me to think about where we came from, where we ended up. But our REDC and the council, we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to be diligent, and we're going to have to ensure that we take care of our people's needs and then reach out around us. Thank you.
So I appreciate what Charlie said. When probably the second or third meeting after getting on council 2 or 3 years ago, I proposed that we engage and do zoning again. That was met with, not very good. So nothing, we didn't go there with that council, haven't moved back, a lot of other distractions. I am absolutely in favor of zoning. I understand we had it here once before. It got removed for whatever reason, but I do believe we need the zoning. And then with that, we need permitting. I'm not asking for a lot, but we need to know what's happening and meet at least some minimum standards for buildings and locations of those buildings. So those two together certainly need to happen, and the locations of those. mixing. Every place becomes a home and every place becomes a business. After a while, the chaos just continues and the mess continues as well. So I certainly believe in those things. EDC, small businesses, there are opportunities with the REDC to do several things. It does not have to, creating jobs and job training, there are opportunities in that, in bringing businesses in, but also retaining businesses that are here. I don't want to preach too much to the EDC. They need to do their job, and they're learning that, doing that. But there are opportunities for the EDC to help the companies that are here and use those over $1 million of tax funds that are there right now to do that. So I would say I'd reach out if those companies, small companies that are here, need that assistance, then to get with the RDC and see if there's a way to bridge that together. If it's retaining existing employees or training them in some form or fashion, I believe there's opportunities within the REDC to do that. I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Again, it goes back to cleanup. Nobody with any kind of money or a business wants to come to a town that looks like it does. It's very simple. We clean up the town, it'll take care of itself. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. I don't know why the city's making it so hard. But I will say that some of the community leaders haven't done enough. For instance, the Chamber of Commerce has the depot. That's the last surviving gym downtown, except the pool at the other end. But the depot, right at the entrance of downtown, tile coming off the roof. There's a basement that has an asbestos-wrapped boiler downstairs, totally submerged in water. Who's raising $1 million for the depot? Now, there are grants out there for a community civic building, and that can include a restaurant in the depot. I went to Jim Robinson, that owns a 3-story building, catty corner across from the bank. 1940s and 50s, it had a Coca-Cola sign on it. I've already had that sign bid out. Jim said we can paint it back on the side. The depot, the Coke sign, cleaning up town. You have hope then. We all know people with a lot of money. I do. They don't want to move to a town that looks like Ranger. So we have to clean it up. The businesses will take care of themselves. The kids will be in a better mental state. We can attract better teachers. The school, the college can attract more students. And it snowballs. So talking about more businesses, just fix it with cleanup.
Okay. So if we, again, I think that there's a main theme running, cleanup and unity in the community. And I think that the REDC has the ability to help anybody who comes to them, who has a plan, who falls within the purview of what the REDC can do. And we are working with businesses that are coming through here that we can't quite talk about now, but they're exciting prospects, and they will bring more tax base, and it's quite large what's happening. But again, it's not something you can say out loud, and it might compromise the situation. So there's things happening, but if there's little businesses in town, if there's big businesses in town, they're welcome to come and talk to us. Conversations are key to success in any way, shape, or form. Cleaning, business, loaning people money to do things that they can't maybe do. There's so much that can be done in this little town, and just, I wish we could work together. I know there's so much animosity and there's so much hatred and things brewing, but that doesn't mean that it can't be forgiven and it can't be fixed. There's grants out there. There's so many things that can be done. There's it's endless, and I'm excited. Always, every day I get up, Danny and I have Cowboy Toffee, we have the farm, we have the market, there's this Cowboy Spirits, there's everything, there's so much here. So if we can work together and try and figure out how to make it better, I think that we should. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. We have one more. I'm going to give you a break. And you've probably touched on this one a lot because there does seem to be a reoccurring theme. But many of the residents wanted to share their thoughts, and this was repeated to me many times. So, some specific comments and concerns are, any road into Ranger is visually depressing. There's no curb appeal. People come here, but they don't want to stay. They come for jobs, and their wives say, not living here. Unoccupied structures contribute to the blight of the community. I know you've addressed many of these, but a lot of people said this, so I thought it was important that you hear what they were saying. If elected, what will you do to rebuild Ranger's failing infrastructure, and do you have a plan for the falling down and unoccupied structures in Ranger? And maybe more importantly here, what will be your approach to the financing of the infrastructure rebuild? Okay, and I think we start with Kevin. And then I'm going to give you a break, and we'll let the water board go forward.
All right, thank you. 2001, the city had a community plan. I can't remember actually who did the plan. And apparently it was shortly after that was done, it was shelved. I think it had 140 dilapidated structures. There's a map of where all those structures were. And for 20 years, now 23 years, I suppose, most of those are, well, I wouldn't say still standing, but they're laying around somewhere. Those need to go. So the blight in the city, particularly upon the approaches, recently when we did the ordinance on the mobile homes, we restricted it because we don't have zoning. We restricted it from the Loop and Main Street because of what that looks like currently, and those that have already fallen apart and need to be removed among many other structures that need to happen. So yes, the blight needs to be removed. We repeat that over and over. City limited funds. The city just spent over $300,000 to remove one structure. Following all the rules with the state, the cost for the city to do it is significantly more than private citizens or those that would volunteer to do that. And that was a large ticket to take down one building. Certainly, if we had not done it that way, there would have been many others that would have been dotting every I and crossing every T. We would probably find ourselves, or the city would find themselves in court again and again, because some do take pleasure. It's called schadenfreude. They take the pleasure in the demise of others. And so you have to, as a city, do all that. Mine would be grants. It would be looking for those grants. There are several out there. The difficulty is the matching funds. And as long as we don't have the other revenues and those that need to be returned to us, it's going to be difficult to match those. But short of that, it's back to volunteers. We all want it. So maybe, just maybe, we start doing it ourselves. If we can engage the city in providing equipment while we do some of that, or some of the dumpsters that they have available while we do some of that, it's one at a time. Let's just start. We can talk about the big picture, but we just need to start. Let's pick one. Thank you.
This is our last question for the evening.
We're going to do the water board, and there is one question for you all that kind of piggybacks with the water board. Yes, sir.
Okay. Since this is the last question, other than the water board stuff, I'm going to take this opportunity to say I'm running to change the culture of City Hall. Mr. Finley put in a bid and said he would tear down that building that cost $300,000 for $40,000. He said he would take it down. And the council, including two of the commissioners that were recalled, said that would have been too expensive. So we have to be more inclusive at City Hall. I keep hearing from some of the people here about working together. We have to work together, but that culture down there has not been working together. For instance, the foundation that I'm a director of had a contract, and we had a dispute. And for 6 months, I requested agenda items to go down and speak to the council, and they were rejected over and over and over again. I put it in writing. I requested it in person, looked you on the eyes, and said, we're being denied agenda item request. We have to resolve this somewhere. And for 6 months, that council wouldn't allow us on the agenda, wouldn't meet with us. The largest nonprofit in the city that's doing great things, and this so-called council that wants to work together, wouldn't meet with us. So 6 months later, we did the last resort we could do. We filed suit. If you want to work together, You have to sit down with people you disagree with. And the council didn't do it. And now we're all paying the price. The airfield, you as taxpayers, the kids, the people that we're going to build here. And you roll your eyes and you may not like the package I came in, but I usually do what I say I'm going to do, and I do it better. And I promise you, this is a good thing for Ranger.
Can you remind me what the question is one more time?
The comments that people made were any road into Ranger is visually depressing, no curb appeal, people come but don't want to stay, unoccupied structures are contribute to the blight of the community. If you're elected, what will you do to rebuild Ranger's failing infrastructure, and do you have a plan for the falling down and unoccupied structures in Ranger? And then what is your approach for financing it?
Okay, grants definitely for financing. I don't need to be elected to start cleaning things up. A beaver takes one bite at a time out of a tree, and he keeps going from tree to tree until he makes a dam, and that is my goal. If I'm elected or not, I want to see my home, this is my home now, as well it is everyone else's home. I want to clean it up. If I have to go out there by myself and do it, I will hunt grants myself. It's not about finding a grant writer. I have tried to find grant writers. I tell them we need grants. They're like, find us the grant and we'll write it. So it's about hunting. It's about hunting the grants. And then, yes, the match. So we have a lot of things going on. But if these people who are doing the pool, a little bite at a time on that tree that's going to fall and getting this pool done, we can do that for our town as well. We can find things that will help our town. Here, Savannah, here's city manager, here's a grant. You guys have grant writers, please go write the grant. I don't have to be on city council to want this town clean. It is my home and I want it clean, and I clean it as much as I can. And if we work together, we can do it.
Well, I feel like we're all kind of beating a dead horse here because we all are in agreement that the cleanup has to happen. And it sounds like everybody here is in that same agreement. But the problem that is faced on the daily is that there are people here that are not on the same page as us. So my challenge would be to everybody here, I do this regularly, is I talk to as many people as I can. And I try to get them to understand the situation that we're in. So my challenge would be to have every citizen that feels the way that we feel. You talk to a friend or two, they talk to a friend or two. We get this wildfire spread through town so that we can all finally come together, because we've been so divided for so many years. I've watched councils come and go over the years. I was on the council years ago. Unfortunately, I had to resign. There was changes in my life that could not be avoided. Otherwise, I would have stayed as long as I could to try to get some of these things done. Those challenges are gone from my life, and I can promise you that this pit bull will be down here to fight for this town. I have one major love, and that's for this town. And as far as the financing end of it, we have to go after as many grants as possible. We have to have the people in place that know where the grants are. There are some changes that we could make in that aspect. And then also, it's going to go back to volunteers. We need all the volunteers we can get. But unity. Unity is the key to fixing it all. Thank you. And I'd just like to say right now, I'd vote for everybody up here because we're all on the same page.
Thank you very much. You guys were great, and we appreciate all of your honest information. I'm going to give you a short break. We're going to introduce the candidates that are running for the Eastland County Water Supply District, and then I'm going to give them 3 minutes to introduce themselves to you, and then I have just 2 questions for y'all, and then the last question of the night is about water and growing, and that will be for all 6 of you, okay? So, Charlie Calvert is also running, but he could not be here tonight, so we're going to have something read. Do you want to go ahead and read that first?
Sure.
Okay. So Charlie Calvert is running for the water board. He's out of town and couldn't be here, so his son's going to go ahead and read his statement. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I was born in Ranger and have lived here since 1981. I served 2 enlistments in the U.S. Army and received honorable discharges for each enlistment. I graduated from Ranger College and twice from Tarleton, the second time with a master's in business administration. I worked for and retired from a large international corporation working in many different roles, one of which was in quality assurance in that capacity. I traveled domestically and internationally performing audits ensuring compliance to the highest manufacturing standards. In all the years with that company, I never missed 1 day of work and was recognized for that achievement. I've worked as an unpaid volunteer, helping to preserve and maintain Ranger Airfield continuously since 1991. I served for several years on the REDC-B board and was involved in several worthwhile projects that were completed in a fiscally responsible manner, including the skate park and the ramp at the fire station. I initiated the proposal for the acquisition of new Christmas lights and was intimately involved with the new parking lot at Walnut Street Clinic, which were 2 projects that the citizens wanted, needed, and deserved. I have served on the Eastland County Water Supply District Board for several years and have gained valuable knowledge about the complex workings involved with the maintenance and operation of the water treatment facility and the production of drinking water. I watched and documented with photos the construction of the new water treatment plant. I've always worked and voted in the best interest of the citizens of Ranger. I currently work for a corporation that services and repairs nuclear power plants. To be able to work in this capacity with unescorted access, I had to undergo an extensive background investigation, fingerprinting, and a battery of psychological tests. The work is primarily seasonal, so it does not normally interfere with my other obligations, such as serving on various boards and doing volunteer work. However, the reason I am not at this forum tonight is that I am currently out of state working at a nuclear plant. I challenge anyone to question my honesty, work ethic, or integrity. I've always believed and stressed to my children and others that when able, give back to society and the community where you reside. I believe I have done just that as a veteran and a productive member of this community, and I ask for your continued support in allowing me to serve as a valued member of the Eastland County Water Supply District Board of Directors. Thank you for your time and your support. Charles Calvert, 254-433-1299. You can reach out to him anytime you have any water board questions. Appreciate you letting me read this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan McInnes is running, and so he has 3 minutes to introduce himself and tell you why he's running. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for all coming out. My name is Dan McInnes.
A bit closer.
And I can't really compete with that. But the reason I'm running for water board is I noticed recently the board, the city council, was asking the water board members to come and report and be a little bit more transparent and give some information so that the citizens would be informed and knowledgeable and be able to give some input. And that wasn't happening. So I'm not sure why that was the case or why they weren't more transparent. I know I had some questions. I asked questions and I had to get PIRs, and some of those questions still weren't answered. So that's the reason that I'm running. I would like to see more transparency. Our city councils have their meetings live streamed on Facebook. I would like to see that for the water board as well. Just because there's a lot of people like me who can't make it to the meetings and they would like to know what goes on, and that way they can review it at their own leisure. And that's why I'm running. Thank you for your time.
All right. And Steve Curtis. And Steve, and he's going to introduce himself. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Steve Gertis. I've been on the Eastland County Water Supply District since 2011. I've been the board president out at the district since 2014. Our board of directors is a very objective, intelligent, functional, and diverse knowledge-based board of directors. Each board member contributes their personal ideas and insights based on their own areas of expertise and experiences. The district has successfully accomplished many projects while I have served as president of the district board of directors. The district currently has 2 general land office grant projects under construction, currently under construction, and we have numerous other water development board projects, all in which will continue to enhance, optimize, and replace the district's outdated and failing infrastructure. No one knows everything. Myself and the district board of directors realize this and have built a very strong knowledge-based and result-oriented team of professional individuals, experts, and advisors in their own fields. By having built this team, it reflects in our extremely high success rate with the professionalism displayed in all of our undertakings. Continuing education. The district also believes very strongly in the continuing education of all of our highly valued employees, from the secretary and the superintendent, which wear many different hats, to all of our other operators and employees. Our employees now display great knowledge and understanding and take pride in their jobs and in their operation and maintenance abilities of our water treatment system and our parks, and it shows if you go look. Excellence. The district continues to strive for excellence in all that we do, and we display this through our actions and quality of water that we produce for many Eastland County residents. The district won the latest Texas Water TWUA water tasting competition in the Central West Texas region. The Eastland County Water District has transcended into one of the best water treatment operations in the state of Texas. Leadership. There is a huge difference between what I call blind leadership and effective result-oriented leadership, which is what I provide. If I am reelected, I will continue to provide effective result-oriented leadership to our district board of directors and to all of our district staff. Thank you, and vote for Steve Gertis and Charles Calvert on May 4th.
Thank you very much. Okay, 2 questions for y'all. The first one is, and Steve, you'll go first. What is the greatest challenge facing the water board today, and how do you propose meeting and overcoming this challenge if you are elected?
Right now, our greatest challenge, we pretty well got our infrastructure projects under control. We have funding in place. We put that team together everybody here talks about. We did it. We aligned our engineering companies and grant administration people and our attorneys. Our biggest challenge would probably be potential litigation from this city. That's currently on tap, and it looks like that's where it's going to go ahead to. That just costs everybody money, the city and the district both. We're supposed to be partners in all this, not adversarial. Thank you.
Thank you. I see the largest issue or challenge facing the water district is going to be the growth of both of our cities, Ranger and Eastland. We do have a limited supply of water, and to see both cities grow, to get a larger tax base, to bring more money in, to be able to clean up and get those grants that everyone talks about, we're going to need to search out how to either conserve a lot more water in the future or find other ways of garnering more water. And as far as how to get those done, I'm not sure. That's why I'm running for the water board. There's a lot of questions that I have that need answers, and I hope that I will be able to provide an amount of transparency to bring all of you in, because I know that in numbers there becomes a lot more knowledge, and together we can get this done. Thank you.
Okay, the next question, and Dan, you'll go first. Describe the partnership between Ranger has with the city of Eastland. What are the challenges? Could we work together?
I'm actually going to pass on this one because I don't know.
You're new.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Do you have anything to say on that one?
What was the question?
Describe the partnership that Ranger has with the city of Eastland, and what are the challenges? Because I know there's 4 of you from Ranger and 4 of you from Eastland.
Yes.
Okay.
We have 4, like Lori said, we have 4 directors from the city of Ranger and 4 directors from the city of Eastland on our board of directors. The challenge, I would say, amongst us on the board, there are no challenges. We seemingly have a real good synergy. We get along very well. We do not always agree on things. We do have dissenting votes from time to time. We don't always get what we want. As for the cities as a whole, we are the city of Ranger and the city of Eastland are basically partners with the water district. Most people don't understand that, but both cities got together and formed this water district back in the late 1940s and constructed Lake Leon and this whole set of infrastructure that is known to Ranger and to Eastland both. So there should not be anything adversarial there that I can see or a challenge. Thank you.
Okay. This question is for both the water board and the city council. And I'm going to let the water board go first, and Daniel start. There has been much discussion about growing Ranger. To grow the city, we want to know your vision for the future water supply plans and improving the quality of water in Ranger.
Well, as far as the plans for Ranger goes, I would say the first thing that we need to do is figure out and cut all of our losses. That's going to have to do with infrastructure. And I don't know, that seems like a monumental task. When I first got here, I had a conversation with Joe Pilgrim about that, and he said that it was going to cost somewhere in the ballpark of $30 million to get all the infrastructure under the roads and everything repaired and done. I know that we've been working towards that as Ranger. We have put in some shutoff valves so that we can isolate, so that we don't lose so much water when we work on the system, when the city works on the system. And that's a great improvement. And it goes back again to grants and being able to match those grants, which would be, again, raising the tax base, getting more businesses in here, getting more money on the table so that we can use it in the areas that we need. Thank you.
So, future water supply plans.
What's the question?
To grow the city, what are your future water supply plans and improving the public for the future?
Okay, first off, on the future, currently the water district out here does not normally process over 1.5 million gallons a day. Our water treatment plant has a capacity of 6 million gallons of water a day. So plant size should not be an issue on processing more water for both cities. Our biggest issue right now is a drought that we're in, which is shrinking our water supply at the lake. We have, in years past, had another engineering firm do a water well survey area of the general area, which they could not locate any wells. Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they found any wells that did over 50 gallon a minute out of all those wells. I know that a company has built a well field out by Carbon, and I think they put 6 wells together to supply like 100 houses or something like that, rural houses. The district has put all new water line from the water treatment plant clear through town and up, and with city's help, put the line from the railroad tracks at the grocery store all the way up to the tower on the West Hill. So our infrastructure in the city is new or almost new. This should have a lifespan of a long, long time. I'd say that, like I said, the biggest challenge would be supply of water to the process. We are also doing, probably going to do an aquifer study that in our general area here.
Thank you. Okay. And before I go on, I really do want to thank, we have Julie from the Microplex News filming and live streaming this, as well as Bob from Eastland County today. And I have been told that they have tried to live stream these and video, but I guess you have your meetings in metal buildings, and that makes it very difficult to live stream or video. So that is hopefully will answer that question. Okay, the concerns I got from the city or the residents in Ranger about the future of our water was utilities can increase their water use efficiency, they can improve financial status, and assist with long-term water sustainability. Do you believe that Ranger has a water loss problem? And if so, what is your plan to correct this problem, and how will it be funded? So Jared, you're first. Thank you.
I actually thought about this before this forum a few months ago when I decided to run. I think we need to incentivize our employees. We don't pay them really a living wage to begin with. So say we have $300,000 in water loss. I think we go to the employees and say, whatever you take off of this water loss in the next year, you guys getting a bonus at the end of the year. They're incentivized to find the leaks. I've had a couple people come to me since I signed up, and they've told me, they won't tell me who their neighbors are, but several people have told me that they have neighbors that have gone around meters. They're stealing water. 1 month I figured out, at least what the city had reported, is we were losing about 3 water heaters a minute every day for the whole month of water. So that's water that's being sucked out of the lake, which expedites evaporation. Lower levels means faster evaporation. And that water just goes away. And that's water that the taxpayers had to pay for. And the plant had to buy chemicals. So we have a serious problem with our infrastructure because I fly over Ranger. It used to be 30,000 people. Now it's 2,000 people. The tax base isn't there to support such a widespread infrastructure. You go to Strawn, much more compact, Eastland, much more condensed, and a big tax base. So I don't know what the ultimate solution is. We keep talking about grants, which means we have to import this money from other taxpayers throughout the state. Well, how much is the state going to allow on that? But we have to come together. We have to work together. We have to work with the state. We've got to get the theft down, the water leaks down, and I think the first thing we do is we incentivize our employees to attack the problem first and foremost. Thank you.
It's a big problem. We all know that there is. There's a lot of friends that we have that live on the lake that they're not regulated. They've told us that they can take as much water out of the lake as they want, and there's no consequence. They don't have to pay for it. It's not regulated, no meters, nothing. That's one situation. There's a lot of water nobody can account for, and that's weird to me. There's lots of things that we can do as citizens. I mean, I don't like the California word either, but we left there for a reason. We were in drought for 20 years. There's lots of things you can do. You can take gray water from your washer and dryer and you can water things outside. You can take your shower water. You can figure out ways to save and conserve water. When you do the dishes, put it in a bucket and go water things. You can save rainwater. There's all kinds of tanks on Facebook Marketplace. Danny and I are really interested in ways to recycle the water and reuse it and all those sort of things. So there's things. There was a little thing when we were kids. If it's yellow, it's mellow. If it's brown, it's down. So you don't have to flush every single time. That helps a little bit. I'm just saying, there's ways to hold on to our water instead of just letting it go. And I'm sorry. There's also people that don't have water. There's people that steal it, but there's also people that don't have water. And that's not a good thing either. There's springs even in this town that we can tap into possibly to help us have even a infrastructure for. In Europe, they have little fountains for people to go and get water, and springs usually test clean. So there's a lot of different things that we can do water-wise, and there's a million different things we can do with it. But I think trying to save it and conserve it is a really big one. Thank you.
Pre-drought, we were all pretty complacent in the water supply that we had. So once the drought hit and took hold, we all started getting more and more concerned. We are in drought contingencies. Problem is when we hit these drought contingencies, is nobody's enforcing that. So if you're not going to enforce the contingency, then why have it? So first and foremost, you got to enforce that. We have to continue to figure out how to upgrade our infrastructure within the town to help increase the water quality, because we're getting quality water to us, and they have replaced a lot of the lines, but there's still a lot of lines left out there. So we're going to have to find the money there. We're all saying the same thing, grants, but at some point we got to wonder how many grants are we going to be able to find. So we've got to increase the tax base, plain and simple. This all ties back to one simple change, doesn't it? Cleanup. But we have to work as a group, as a town. We have to continue to find ways to increase that tax base so that we have the budget where we can continue to replace these water lines. I see people at the store all the time that are telling me about their high water bills and things. We need somebody going out and checking these situations. You know, a reread does not help anything. You know, we're just going to get the same answer over and over again. We do have a massive water loss, and oddly enough, we still have this water loss with the pool shut down. So we need to control the water loss first and foremost. Drought contingency next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Repeat the question, please.
I can.
I'm still stuck on their question. I was forming with that one.
Well, for us, the utilities can increase the water use efficiency. They can improve financial status and assist with long-term. Do you believe Ranger has a water loss problem? And if so, what is your plan to correct this problem, and how will it be funded?
Yes, absolutely. We have a water loss problem. We got we have a lot of infrastructure that's 100 years old. My street, that I live on, I have a brick street. Glad part of the reason I purchased where I did, I had a corner, brick streets. 5 water breaks on I don't know if it's a 6-inch or 8-inch line over the last 2 years. That street doesn't look the same. It's not getting repaired, and we have a brick ordinance now. That doesn't help if you don't have the money. But and all I can see is that line because I looked at the last 2 breaks. The rest of it's just soon to go. So do I worry about the brick street? Do we put the brick street back in when it's going to lose the rest of that line? We may be able to maybe we can get grants that are related to the brick streets or to some of the architectural issues, but using what's underlying that, using that grant to help fix some of that that's underlying. Don't know if that's the case. One of the things I would say for water loss control would be training for the employees. It's too often that we've in the last 2 to 3 years, I can't remember how many valves, I think it's over 40 valves we've had installed and water lines replaced. And yet on certain breaks, we're still draining the tower down. We're not isolating. There's a way to isolate the west side from the east side. And whether it's training or initiative or whatever it is, that needs to stop. We need to be able to control those leaks and isolate. That's why they're there. That's why they're called isolation valves, to reduce those losses. Probably the biggest loss is probably going to be the older lines. And I don't know if there's a way, if we can get engineering to study ways to redo the lines and to cut off segments that are in 7 square miles of city. We have that much infrastructure with 2,400 citizens. I mean, you're averaging, how much water line, large water lines, and then flushing those lines for a single citizen on a 6-inch line is just so absolutely costly. So trying to find a way to reduce the lines in the interim until we grow the city, but reduce the volume both in the lines that are there and putting in smaller ones. I would like to see us line the existing cast iron with smaller PVC. Sorry, excuse me.
Thank y'all so much for attending our forum tonight, and thank y'all so much for being here and being so honest with the people of Ranger. First, I'd like to, again, thank the college so much. We couldn't have done this without you. You're wonderful. They also wanted me to tell you that right over here, I think there's a white bucket. If you've got water, you can recycle those bottles. I really want to thank Julie with Microplex News for filming this, for those that couldn't be here, and Bob with the Eastland County Today for being here. Thank you so much. The Eastland County Republicans also have signs up here, Trump signs. If you would like to give a donation of $10 or more, we would be happy to let you have a sign. We just want to thank you so much for being here. There's plenty of refreshments in the back. Help yourself. And we do have a bit of time if you want to have a short meet and greet and meet some of the candidates. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I greatly appreciate it.